Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Hello everybody, how you doing? We're here today to talk a little bit more about the call to report Teresa missing made by Karen Halbach. And we're here to talk about the whole belly button piercing. So I've been having some interesting discussions regarding it, but I felt after having those discussions, I thought I would go ahead and just make some very frank kind of observations about whether or not there is a belly button piercing, and if perhaps somebody might take that out for some reason. So we're going to go ahead and talk about a few things, but we're going to start with the whether or not Teresa even had one. That's what we're going to start with, that topic first. So when Karen Halbach calls dispatch and everything, they eventually ask her, you know, after she's given Teresa's name and stuff, and so the person on the phone asks Karen, does she have any tattoos or piercings or anything like that, right? And the first thing that Karen says, listen, to me this is important so that you understand that this belly button piercing existed. The first thing that she says is not her ears are pierced. The first thing that Karen says is, I think her belly button is pierced. Now, why would she say I think? Well, it could be that Teresa's mom kind of didn't like the fact that Teresa got that piercing. She maybe wasn't really happy about it. And so telling a police officer that she had one probably wasn't keen to her. But the fact that she says it, I mean, think about it. This is a serious phone call to law enforcement to report your daughter missing. You're not going to be goofing around throwing out red herrings, are you? Right? You're not going to say things that you think are unlikely. You're not going to say things that you think are untrue because you want them to find your loved one. Am I right? So even though she says I think that whole little thing about I think she had a belly button piercing, I think means that Karen Halbach wasn't all that thrilled about Teresa getting it. That's the way I read that, as what that really means. Because like I said, who's going to be throwing out red herrings to distract the investigators and the police from finding your loved one? Who's going to be wanting to do that? Especially since she mentioned it first before earrings. I think that speaks volumes as to the fact that this belly button piercing existed. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play that little clip of the call here for you real quick, and then we'll go ahead and come back and we'll talk about the second half.
Get as much information for us as you can. Do you know about any piercings, ears pierced or anything like that?
I think her belly button is pierced, and her ears are pierced.
Okay. Pierced belly button and ears. Okay. Well, our officers are all out in the accident right now.
Yeah.
Are you going to be home all night?
Yes.
So, when it comes down to it, it's my opinion that the probabilities are that Teresa had a belly button piercing, because I really don't see any good reason why her mother would suggest something that she thought was not true. Just doesn't make sense. So I think that Teresa had a belly button piercing. Just the way that goes. So now that we've moved from that point, I'm not saying it's impossible. Actually, I would just want to clear that up. I'm not saying it's impossible that she didn't have, one. But what I am saying is it's improbable. And the reason why is, as I explained, you don't want to go around throwing out red herrings to investigators who are trying to find your loved one who you're very concerned about. You're going to be trying to give them all the most accurate information and that sort of thing. So, anyways. So that brings us to the second point. I was having a conversation today with two ladies. One of them is what some of you might call a guilter. And one of them was a supporter. So I was having this conversation, and they were basically questioning me, saying, well, she took it out, or she could have took it out. It started out she could have took it out, and I said, well, that's not. I go, that's kind of counterintuitive, or that's kind of like the opposite of what I would hear. The girls that I've known that had one, when they would talk about like how they keep it clean and what, when they change, studs or change barbells or whatever and all that stuff, it was always a thing where they never liked to take it out for very long. They just took it out to clean and whatever, or put a new one in. But they never liked to leave it out very long because it would start to like close, or it would constrict, and trying to get it, if you would wait a couple days and trying to get it back through, they'd be able to get it through, but it would be kind of painful and very difficult because the hole would have kind of shrunk down a little bit where these barbells would go through. So that's the way I remembered it. So when I'm listening to these, having this conversation chat in a group, I was like, wait a second, that doesn't seem right. So I said so. I basically said that, look, it was Halloween, it was, and Teresa was a young woman on Halloween who was going to be going out to a party. Halloween tends to be one of those things. I mean, I know all throughout my 20s, that's what Halloween parties were. That was people going to meet people or whatever, or hook up even, whatever it might be. It was always had provocatively dressed people at the party. There was always, there was always just stuff there. It was very adult themed, of course. And so I can't imagine that it being one of those times where she might have been hoping to meet a cute guy and have a few drinks and whatever, like most people do when they're in their 20s on Halloween. She was hoping to meet a nice guy or something, hey. She wouldn't have wanted to leave that out, because if she ended up, meeting a guy she really liked and the night went well, she wouldn't want to be without the pretty little jewelry that she got because she wanted to show off, her stomach, because she has such a flat stomach, or because she has a nice toned stomach, or whatever it might be. That's the reason why girls tend to get the belly button ring, because they feel pretty and they get something pretty to go along with, the way they feel. That's kind of the point of it, at least the way I've always understood. So after this conversation with these two ladies, I was left wondering, okay, well, maybe I have it wrong, because I have never had a belly button piercing. I certainly don't know through firsthand, but I just know from what I had heard. So I went into a group, and I went ahead, and it was full of, a fair amount of people that would have belly button piercings, and asked the question, look, if you had a belly button piercing, would you ever, would you take it out? Or why would you take it out, and that sort of thing. And the responses came back basically like I was saying. A lot of them were saying they only took it out like, one reason was pregnancy. When they would get pregnant, their doctor would say, look, take that out, because during the pregnancy, with all that's going on, that can cause a lot of issues or create problems or whatever. So it's a lot of answers came back with pregnancy. It came out during pregnancy. Okay, that's good. Okay, medical procedures. Yes, got it. Okay. Don't think Teresa had any of those. Haven't heard about it anyway, on the 31st. Or the 30th or whatever. So, I don't know if there was that or not. Doesn't seem likely, seeing as we have never heard of it. And a lot of other ones were basically like to take it out to clean it, or to change it, because they have like 2 or 3. So they, every couple days just changed change the new one and then clean the one that they take out and put it back in rotation, right? So, I mean, but other than that, a lot of them were very reluctant to take their belly ring out. They didn't like to take it out, not at all. Even some, there was even a couple. There was even a couple that even said they got it when they were young, and that now maybe they're not so keen about the belly button ring anymore, but it's been there for so long, it's a part of them now, and they actually acknowledge it as so. And I truly believe that's because the reason why they got it in the first place is because they felt pretty, and they got something that they felt accentuated that and punctuated it, in their own way of seeing themselves and in their own self-esteem, which is great. So that's the way I always understood it. So for as far as I understood, it was very uncommon to take it out, and for me it would have been extremely more uncommon for a young lady to take it out on Halloween when you're going to be going to a party and potentially meeting a guy you like, or whatever may happen. Now, I'm not even saying that Teresa was setting out to go get her some that night. I'm not even saying that. All I'm saying is there may have been a guy she'd been talking to recently who was going to be at that party, or she might have met somebody else that she knows from her past at the party who she might see in a different light. Because everybody's growing up. She's 24. She's in her mid-20s. Her friends are in their mid-20s. They're starting to grow up. Everybody starts to look different to each other when they start to grow up after they leave high school. Because the high school, chain of, the high school food chain kind of dissipates. And everybody goes out in the real world and starts getting jobs, and things start to change and things start to look different. So she might have met somebody else that she had always been friends with that she suddenly found she had an attraction to. There's a lot of reasons. You never know what's going to happen in life. So I'm not at all saying that Teresa would have been going out strictly for that purpose. No, that's not what I'm saying. Just to make sure nobody misconstrues what's happening or what I'm saying here. Okay? What I am saying is that she would have been setting out to hopefully go see or meet that guy she had been talking to recently who was going to be at that party, or she could potentially meet up with somebody that she's always known that she suddenly feels a spark for or whatever, and things, one thing leads to another. But whatever, or she might have just gone to the party, had a few drinks, hung out with some of her friends, played a few games at the party or whatever was going on. Sometimes they put on little shows at the parties. Depends who throws the party, obviously. But, hung around for a bit and then went home. That's also a perfect option. That belly button ring was there. Which leads to two things. One you've already heard me talk about. It makes the control question even more ridiculous. The other thing is that this belly button piercing, this ring, would have survived the fire. It should be among the bones. It should have been there. It should have been found. And that's the thing that's also odd here. So, and as I've always said, these bones were moved. Every expert in the case says they were moved. It's only the prosecution's bone expert that claims that they moved in the opposite direction. But anyway, moving beyond that. But the fact of the matter is that you can't deny the fact that all the bone experts are saying these bones moved. Whether which direction, whatever, bones moved. So, we don't find this belly button piercing, this, little barbell that used to be in Teresa's belly button, along with the bones. And remember, we only have 60% of those. And some of them are stuck in the bottom of a burn barrel over behind Barbionda's house trailer. So we never find this thing. It's not there. It's further, and to me, it's just further evidence that these bones were moved. It's just further proof, because they should have found it. It should have been there. They were sifting it. If she was burning at that fire pit, and they were there with sifting equipment and backloaders and, you know, everything, they should have found it. You know, so I know that the other side, you know, those who believe that Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey are guilty, are going to continue to say she didn't have one, or like today, she took it out, and, you know, these various things that people are going to say. But it's improbable. The probability is that Karen Halbach was giving truthful information because she was hoping that they would be able to find her loved one, who she was very, 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 very worried about. It does not make sense that she would be throwing out red herring information. I don't know how to make it any clearer than that. So, like I said, in my mind, there's a very slim chance that she didn't have one at all. But to me, it's a slim chance, because if she didn't have one, then why in the heck is Karen Halbach talking about a belly button piercing? And why is she mentioning it before earrings? I mean, these are valid questions. So, makes it clear that this belly button piercing was there. So anyways, like to hear everybody's thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you